Happy Monday, friend. How are you doing this Monday? I was speaking with someone I met at an event the other day, and she was sharing with me that her husband and her has been so looking forward to his retirement about 3 months ago, and they both really looking forward. They said, it'll be so much fun. We can be with each other all the time, and all this wonderful thing. And she shared with me that her husband did retire wonderfully about 3 months ago, and now 3 months later they could not stand each other. The husband behaved in such a way that she didn't predict that he seems to be lost, to be confused and irritable at times, and all these things. And she said, they're just such an interesting thing to her, and she feel bad, and now she's thinking maybe it's such a bad thing, and maybe they don't really love each other anymore, and it was just better for them to be apart, which is really sad for me to hear. And about the same time frame, actually, the other day, and interestingly enough, I was speaking with another person, and this person said, as someone who is I know is getting married, which is really thrilling and exciting, and I'm so happy for her. And she shared with me, knowing that I am a grief recovery coach, that she's like, it's so strange. I'm so happy. I've always wanted to get married for all this time, and it's going to be a lovely wedding and everything. And there is a part of me that is like so sad at the same time, and so. It's like I think I'm just crazy and silly. I'm like, none of you are crazy and silly. And that is how grief is. Grief can be very sneaky. A lot of time in many of us, we think grief is something that, a lot of people think the word grief, they feel that the only time someone grieving is when somebody passed away, when somebody died, or or something in that aspect. And of course, that's a really strong reason for grief. At the same time, grief, actually, according to the Grief Recovery Institute, grief is anything that causes changes in our routine that create a feeling of loss. So retirement, if that is something you've been going to work at the same time in the same place, particularly for the last 40 years or something, even just the last 10 years, and it's something that a routine which is going to work, now it's stopped, it will create a feeling of loss and a feeling of confusion and a feeling of grief. And even with wedding and wonderful things like going to college, it created a feeling of loss, it created some sadness, and it is particularly if you are getting married and moving at the same time. That's kind of like, a change in your routine. Now you're going to be married, no longer single, and you got to move and leave people and groceries that and streets that and that's a feeling of loss, a feeling of that everything changed, and that can create grief. And it's good to recognize them, because otherwise what we end up having is either resentment or animosity. With younger people that go to college, if they don't recognize, the parents don't recognize that the kids might have some grief going to college, as much as exciting it is, and that they themselves, particularly if they're empty nester now, that they might have some grief. They might end up headbutting with each other instead of being supportive to each other. So grief is any change in our routine that can cause a feeling of loss. And it's not just a divorce or when someone passed away. It's a lot of things in our life that can create grief. Even having a new neighbor can create grief. I remember there's changes in my neighbor situations, and secondarily from there, I was not able to put up bird feeder to entertain my cat anymore. because he likes to watch birds, in the far distance of the balcony, and that caused grieving to me. But I recognize, so I didn't become reactive. So grief, there is so many reason for grief, and about basically any changes in our routine. The Grief Recovery Institutes and studies shows that there are more than 40, 50 reasons for grief, and it's good to recognize them because that way we can be gentle with ourselves and gentle with the other persons that's involved if it involves other people, and have wonderful, peaceful, and more joyful life instead of being stressed and uncomfortable, having resentment or anything. And this is Bridget Tan with From Grieving to Joyful Living. And I love you very much. Thank you for watching. And I welcome your share and your feedback. I hope you have an amazing, wonderful Monday and start of your week. And I look forward to see you again tomorrow.